Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining my podcast. I have a very exciting guest this week. This is my good friend, Nick Leshi. He's actually, and it's a weird thing. We actually, his last name is my grandmother's last name. So we met a few years ago, and I always found that humorous. We're not related, but I was like, wow, I met another Leshi that wasn't my cousin. So it's
Small
kind of
world.
funny. So, yeah, it's a very small world. And today we're going to be speaking about For All Mankind, a series on was it Apple Plus, Apple
Apple
TV?
TV
Is that what it
Plus.
is?
Yep.
Apple TV Plus. So we're going to be speaking about that. I watched the series on Nick's recommendation to get an idea of it, and we're gonna just get chat through it. I mean, might do some comparisons and see where this goes. It's gonna be kind of exciting. So, Nick, why don't you give a little introduction of yourself, a little bit of your background?
I
Love to
work
hear it.
I work in public relations at the New York Botanical Garden. I'm the senior director of communications there. I also teach at Fordham University, and I'm doing a lot of theater and writing, and I think that's how our paths crossed. I think I came to review one of the shows you were doing years ago, and I remember sitting having some coffee somewhere and just chatting. We had a lot in common. It just felt like you really connected
Yeah.
with what I connected with. So, and then when I heard about your podcast and you wanted recommendations, this was a show that so many people don't know about. Um,
Yep.
so I thought let's chat about it because it's really one of my favorites in terms of acting and just the genre, which I think a lot of people don't really talk about. So it's going to be spoiler filled, right? Because I don't think
Yes.
we can
Always
really talk
spoilers.
about it
I
without
am a
spoilers.
spoiler. I toss them out like dollar shots. I will. Lots of spoilers. Yeah, no, I watch it. It's definitely something that I remember. Some write ups on it, but I didn't really try and watch it. But I think the imagery from it got me. I will say one thing. I'm not a fan of the lead guy. What's his name?
Joel
The guy who
Kinnaman.
plays Ed.
Yeah, Joel Kinnaman. I actually
Yeah, I
like him
am
because
not a fan of that guy.
I s-
And
this was the first time I'd seen him in this show, and
really, he's in
and
a lot of stuff.
my wife recommended The Killing, and he was in that too. And
Okay.
very different kind of portrayal in The Killing. He was kind of this
Yeah.
detective who was really like a street smart
Is he
kind of
really
guy.
that different in anything he does? Like, so,
He does have that kind of the same voice.
the same
Um,
voice, same facial
yeah,
expression. I always know when he's angry because his eyes go sideways.
I hear what you're saying.
People who are listening, what this show is about is that if Russia landed on the moon first, and not even look at the details of when we landed on the moon, and there was a huge push for competitive reasons for NASA to really get people into space. So it's a space competition. The space run sort of went over, everything else we knew from that time period, from the late 69, 70s, and 80s, and it does go over a couple decades and some. So it's NASA growing. These badasses who sort of vanished in our reality have become these rock stars within politics. I would say not probably in the general public, but definitely in politics. So for me, it felt like very much like a Mad Men
Very much, especially
for
the
space.
first season. You know,
First season really did that for me, where there was a lot of boozing, a lot of hookers, no cocaine yet because they couldn't figure that out. But definitely booze and hookers. And Ed, who was I don't know, it was weird. I actually liked the first season, and it pulled me along. Again, not a huge fan of that guy because I saw him in Suicide Squad. I thought he was like the weakest link in both films.
Mhm.
Made no sense. I saw him in Altered Carbon on Netflix. Plays the same guy, just like grunty. He's just like a
Yeah,
grunty guy. He's getting work. God bless him.
yeah.
So
Check out
I
check
can't
out The Killing. I'm curious to see what you think of
try.
his performance in that.
I might
But
have seen it. He's just not my guy.
yeah,
I do like the other people in it, and I find Gordo,
Gordo. Yeah, he was great. I thought.
who really should play the Joker because he's got that friggin' grin, locked down,
Uh huh.
locked down. I think he was very interesting in the first season because he was this
Yeah.
broken sort of hotshot finding his way, and again, spoilers, a womanizer who's got like the cutest wife,
And then his
supposedly.
his
I'm not gonna
wife
say, but the
his
cutest wife.
wife
Yeah,
leaves him because of that. So the second
yeah,
season, he's kind of
yeah.
in a different place.
Yeah,
And
totally different place. So I appreciated him. Well, let's just go through the story now. So you got like the whole first season is this race to beat the Russians, and then the U.S. Nixon decides that he wants a hot chick in space also to beat
because the Russians put a woman on the moon too, and
right. I
so
mean, and this had to be like a hot girl.
this is all
Yeah,
that kind of alternate reality kind of storytelling, which
and I like
I
that
love
actually.
because
No,
it's
I love that. I like
seeing
it.
how history
Yeah,
diverts,
yeah, with a real path.
right.
With a real path. Uh, and again, I think that the first season is really super strong. I think it's actually really good. They don't show a lot of that guy Ed in the first season.
Mm-hmm.
He sort of goes in the back. I think a
Yeah.
lot of the other characters, and that's what I really found to be an ensemble piece.
It totally is,
Was
especially
first
the
season.
women characters. They really come to the fore. And
They really come to the front, right in the middle. I think episode 3 or 4, where they decide they have to recruit women, and that path and that struggle. They had to get a minority woman involved there. They had to get the pretty woman. They're upset they got women who weren't that good looking. Just a push, I think, of even the institutions of breaking those boundaries and seeing how they can work it. So I did enjoy that. It really, I watched it to the end of second 2, but it got a little. One, I felt it got a little soap opera-y, where it becomes. I find this is a common complaint I have with a lot of shows, where they become a little bit incestuous, where they only sleep with each other, they only drink with each other. They didn't do that much in this season, first season, but in second season, I felt like these guys just don't go outside of that circle.
You have to hire more
bro, you
actors.
gotta meet somebody else. You gotta talk to somebody else. And also there's the and this is I like to just for everybody who watches, if you do watch this on a regular basis, and if you like it, please subscribe. A button will pop up. I told Nick I was going to say that at any moment. I do compare this a little bit to Star Trek Discovery.
I can see the comparison. Yep.
Yeah, because it's Discovery, which is another. I'm a big not a big Star Trek guy. I don't go to conventions, but I watched it as a kid. So I grew up with this. I know the characters. I love Next Generation. I love Deep Space Nine. Voyager, I actually like too. Points of it, not all of it. Points of it. So I've always been infatuated with space and characters and that sort of Greek tragedy in space. I'll call it. And I think Discovery is the first film to deviate from that Greek tragedy because it's become through the lens, through God's eyes, looking at one person. And I feel like that's a good comparison with these two series, because that Discovery also is really, the whole story really just narrows down to one person, and we get that God's point of view effect. Mm-hmm. I'll call it. I don't know if it's a valid term, but it's God's point. Like my thing with art is why did God turn on the camera? Why did God make that painting? Why did God inspire somebody to pull that out of their ass and make a painting, make a sculpture, make an architecture? Because people don't know where it comes from. So not that I'm overly religious, but that's just sort of how I make it feel important to me. And I see in films and in stories, there are certain characters that I won't call it lazy writing. I think just a style of writing, an American style of writing, I'll say, that they have to make it God-given. It has to be destiny. There's no way for that person to fail, even though you think they're going to fail, but they get redeemed at some point. They get reborn. They get wings. And that's what I feel like season 2 of For All Mankind was. And no matter what, and actually, this is actually one thing I was thinking about. I wanted to bring up that, and you can bring up any topic you want to. I'd like you to just to interject. Is that I feel that, and this is why I liked it, that For All Mankind, everybody was inherently a shitty, vain, selfish person. Everybody did it for their own reasons.
They all had their flaws, their weaknesses.
Right. They're very flawed in an ambitious way. Mm-hmm. And I kind of liked it. I really liked it that they were kind of fucked up to each other. That they were, I mean, one of the storylines is that they do a flight to the moon. They get on the moon, they get stuck there, and this guy Gordo's having hallucinations, and he's freaking out because his wife's leaving him, and he's freaking out, about ants, and he can't deal with the solitude of being this one fucking thing. Even though they are training for that, so there's a lot of plot holes in that, and that world holes, I'll call it in that sense. And there's a few of those. We can bring those up, but some of the things don't make sense. But one of the female astronauts breaks her arm intentionally. She happens to be the black one, to take the blame so this guy wouldn't get grounded. And I totally get that in a hero worship sense of like, we can't let this guy fail because he's better than this. But if that character, that person in a reality could do harm by being so fucked up, military training should never allow that.
Right. They never,
because they're military.
Right.
They are military.
That was a problem I had with just a plot hole with season 2, because then Ed, the character you hate,
right.
he's in charge now, right? And he picks who's going to be on the flights, and he picked Gordo to be on the flight.
Yeah.
Knowing. And even Gordo himself was doubting. Even Gordo himself was like, I don't know if I'm ready for this.
Yeah.
You know? So, but there's the flaw. There's, these are human beings.
Yeah, but it's such a big flaw when they get this ego and they become like, where they're all become directors of NASA. They're the bosses. The guy was a boss. You're a boss.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you did that as a boss, the higher you go up as a boss until you become the guy, the owner, you can't do shit like that because everybody knows it.
Yeah.
Everybody knows it. When there's any sort of favoritism, it's not murmured. It's made fun of. You will be questioned on it constantly.
Yep.
I had a boss, and whoever people will know me, I had a boss who used to take wrestling classes with one of his sales reps. And this guy had he coasted his whole career with the company. And we were like, yeah, of course he did, because he fucking wrestles with this guy. So people used to do memes of them wrestling together. Yeah, and leaving the office. And this was the CEO of the company, who had your life in his hands, pretty much economically. And we would rip it. So that's why, like, when you see like this favoritism, this weird. And that's where I say, like, they got to get out of the pool.
Right.
And then, like, season 2, one of my big things, too, was that, they were arming a shuttle. And they're like, we don't do that. And I was like, actually, you're all military.
Yeah.
You are all military. You are indoctrinated to hate the enemy.
Yeah. And that's where you see, you see the divergence in the alternate history, right? Because the space race started when the Russians sent the satellite Sputnik, right?
Yeah.
First one. Right. So that's where we were like, oh, my gosh, they're going to shoot down nuclear weapons. And that's where we started our program.
Yeah.
And I was doing some research to see where history really diverted, and people were saying that the leader of the Russian program died, right? And that's why the Russian program kind of took a back seat, and they didn't have the rockets and all this stuff. Right. So according to this timeline, they did it, and because they were a communist country, they kept it under wraps. So America didn't even know what was going to happen until boom, they launched it, and that first scene is great because they're watching. If somebody just goes into this blind, you think, okay, this is when America landed on the moon, right?
Yeah.
And instead, it's the Russian flag that's being planted up there.
Yeah, it was kind of interesting. But then they failed habitually after everything else. Like they failed at everything. They show this very much only from the American point of view. Like we've never seen the Russian base.
Yep. And we've
never seen the inside of a Russian ship.
And then in season 2, we also it's very mysterious. When we're trying to do that,
very mysterious.
When we're trying to do that collaboration,
there's a lot of loose threads about what they're doing and how digging deep. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
So maybe it's all smoke and mirrors. So, but there was a lot of that one sidedness. I feel like we needed something on that side.
Yeah.
To ground us, or maybe that's their attempt at paranoia. To show the paranoia, and definitely. By season 2, there is paranoia.
Yeah, and it jumps. It jumps a decade. So the first season,
which I did like.
Yeah, the first season was late 70s, late 60s, early 70s. Then it jumps to the 80s, right? And that's where the comparison you said for the Discovery. It's interesting because every season of Star Trek Discovery was almost like
jumps.
It jumps into something completely different. And I think from what I was hearing, this is what they're going to do. So the next one is going to be in the 90s, the next season.
90s, yeah. I wish they would pick music that actually fits that decade rather than arbitrarily picking the songs. They're doing the very Scorsese thing, but they're just not doing it well. They're picking songs like with the the little the clip before it really starts.
Yep.
And then they go into this somber, Game of Thrones, meets Westworld like opening. But before that, they're trying to get like, hey, I'm going to show you a song, and a lot of times it doesn't jive, like with the decade they're in. I'm like, that was too early. I know that song. That was way too late.
That's a good point.
So I'm like, I don't know.
But they can get away with it because it's alternate history. So who knows? Maybe
it's alternate history. So maybe everybody
10 years earlier or something.
Yeah. It was a little weird. For me again, I did like in the season 1 where they had a. They had a lot of the extended family of the astronauts, and I didn't see that in season 2. So maybe again intentionally, maybe it's to show that these institutions have become a commodity.
And that's where the drama came in with the family because Ed.
I think they could have delved a little more with that.
He loses his son right in that car accident, and his wife doesn't want to tell him because he's up in the he's on the moon. But he
Yeah.
finds out because the Russians heard about it, so they send him that fax
Yeah,
saying, "We're sorry for
yeah,
your loss." And he's like, "What?"
yeah.
It's like that drama, and so it's. But yeah,
I
I
thought
think it's
to
lost
me, it's
a little bit. Season two became a
yeah.
little bit more melodramatic, and you
And
had
even like
that.
Ed's wife has the affair, which I saw coming a
That
mile
was
away. I was
Yeah,
like,
I
oh
saw that
my
too. I saw
god,
them,
it was just creepy.
and
I think they wanted well, they wanted to make her the new hot chick.
yeah,
I was like, okay, they're gonna make her the hot chick.
yeah,
If there are stereotypes there.
yeah.
So you had in season one, you had Gordo's wife, Tracy, was that her name? Tracy.
Tracy. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, Tracy. She was the independent one, breaking out of her shell.
Hmm.
And then by season two, she's got this new fame. She's met a rich guy who they didn't even show till like the last episode.
Hmm.
They wouldn't even show the guy's face. So I'm like, okay, is this budget? Show me the guy. Show me the guy. I mean, he must have a huge penis. Oh no, he's rich. Sorry, I didn't notice. So and then she pretty much leaves. I'm not gonna. I mean, there are spoilers. She leaves. But again, redeems herself of being a shitty person. I'll say like everybody who's died
Yeah.
has redeemed themselves.
Yeah, they become the
except
heroes.
one person, I think. But yeah, they and that's where I think too is a little bit weird for me is that they all become heroes, and that's the God point of view.
Hmm.
And then like I said, I have the same problem with Star Trek Discovery, where what's the lead? What's her name? What she play? The lead in that Michael
Burnham,
something.
right? Michael Burnham.
Michael Burnham, yeah, the woman who plays Michael Burnham. Once she plays, always surprised.
Yeah. And
Always surprised. That girl has
she
never
has
had
that face.
She only has surprise moments.
Right.
She only has surprise moments.
I love her enthusiasm, but I do feel she's a bit of an overactor. She like
You think a bit,
it's like
a bit.
It's like the faces and
It's like I am doing space. I am in space. And I'm like, she goes, I'm breaking laws. Why is everybody looking at me? Because you're the fucking most.
We have to do a whole episode on
just
just Discovery because I can talk about that forever too. I like a lot about it, but it's also like, how do you let her be in this position of power with all the stuff?
Right. That's actually my biggest gripe with it.
All the people she got. She started the war.
And they go, no, she's the one. No.
She started the war.
No. Well, they almost made her Jesus in the second season. And I'm like, okay. And that's also one of my peeves when somebody becomes like Jesus. It's like, I get it. They, they're christened. I get it. Let's get it. Can we just stop with this imagery? If we could just get a Buddha. If I get once where somebody's like, no, they're the new Buddha. I'd love it if an American show or film brings back a character and it's fucking this peaceful, chill guy.
But there's no,
you think it's Chinese, but it's really from India. Yeah, like it's really chill.
There's no,
I'm so relaxed.
There's no drama and peace, right? You need to have.
I guess. Yeah. I mean, everything's like almost like So it's almost like what the fuck was that? Sorry, see, I'm losing my train of thought. I'm losing my train of thought. Who are the guys? Well, it was pillaging. Who are the guys? God damn, forget it. We're gonna come back to this later. It'll come to
but
me.
The Star Trek connection you made is great because Ron Moore, who's the producer of the show, he did Battlestar Galactica, the reboot. So he's well known for that one. But he also did the movies Star Trek Generations and then Star Trek First Contact. So he's the one that killed Captain Kirk, right, in the movie.
Oh, wow.
Right?
Okay.
So that's why I hate him. But then he redeemed himself because First Contact was actually pretty good. I don't think, For All Mankind is as good as Battlestar Galactica reboot. But I like it a lot.
It's not as gritty. It is they are mixing the Mad Men, the economics. I wish they would delve more into it. That's some of my stuff that I working like my background's in webcasting, so I saw a lot of enterprises and businesses and sort of like how they work. And when you got a commodity like that, and they said they actually gave us a little bit of a taste of that, like, hey, we sell our technology, we lease it. That should be explored so much more. Yeah. And then that actually, this is my one gripe of futuristic shows. I think it's my biggest gripe. And I know they all have to be all alternate universes. They can't be in our universe because none of them have fucking video cameras. And there is no security anywhere. You're telling me that you have a moon base on the other side of the fucking moon, right at the cusp of the dark side of the moon, and you won't have a security camera? Even in the 80s. Yeah. You don't have a security camera?
Yeah. Little cloud
base there so you can watch what's going on?
Yeah.
That is nuts. That is nuts. Same thing like Discovery. Like, we don't know what happened to Burnham. Or you could just watch the fucking security footage. I'm sure it's everywhere. I think every Star Trek problem could have been solved if they all said, can we just check the security camera?
Yeah.
And I think every one of them, it would have been like a 30. Oh, yeah, Kirk's off the ship. Why? Because we can see it on the security cam. He got taken.
But the technology is another good point too. Like with the alternate. So when it jumps to the 90s, you see they're all doing video conferencing to the 80s.
Right.
So it's like, because the space race was so heated up, now they developed all this new technology. But it doesn't.
I think there should be more.
I agree. I think it needs to be more. Because like where else? What else has changed?
Because that's where they would test it. I actually like the fact that hey, we got electric cars now.
Yep.
They mentioned that. Yep. Which that's probably a full decade for that range that he was talking
about.
Because
the real space race developed so much. I mean, wireless earbuds wouldn't be around now if it wasn't for technology and Velcro.
Right. All these different fabrics, all this technology,
GPS and the smartphones, all because of the.
So I do wish it was a little bit more. Like they're showing piecemeal. Maybe it's budget restraints.
Yeah.
I would say like even on their ship, they're showing other countries as astronauts there. Like you would imagine that other countries would be running up there already and buying the technology.
That's why I'm thinking.
With a right to say,
I'm curious if China, if they're going to have China, because the team.
You would think even France and Germany have always had the technology for this stuff. They sell the hardware.
Right.
They make the fine-tuned stuff. We don't really make it in the U.S. We're not good at that. We're good at tractors sometimes. But we're not really good at making the spaceship. Even we had to do. Even on this side, we had a Nazi.
That's part of the story, right? For the season 1.
Yeah, that's part of the story.
The
a Nazi who helped us, get to space, which was true.
Out of Germany, right?
Which is all true. Yeah, which is true. We did hire in a lot of Nazis. I wish they would have delved more into that. But I think that's probably just showing the hypocrisy. Of because that is my the American idealism. The hypocrisy always gets me worked up.
Right.
We could have a whole conversation about that. But that's not about
the politics of it too. Like I like how it diverges because in this story, it's like we failed, right? We were supposed to be the first one on the moon, and we failed. So Nixon was the guy. So Ted Kennedy, the senator at the time, he doesn't go to Chappaquiddick. He doesn't have that accident that destroys his political ambition to become president.
He becomes president, and Jimmy Carter stays senator.
So it's things like that I thought were interesting twists. Reagan still becomes, president.
Yeah,
but
he still did. Yeah, he still
the Cold War now is about space. Really, his Star Wars now is like really.
That's the interesting dynamic that I like. That they've taken it off world, but again, I think they could have explored more. Like they find lithium.
Yes.
Right over there, they find lithium. That's a big thing on season 2. They found lithium. They found ice. They found water, which means they can live there longer. I think the expansion would have been much faster. I think once you get a commodity up there, people are running to make money. Right. So once you have that mining resource, that's historic. And I'm not saying like a divergence of history, but historically, that's what's pushed every economic push, every technological push in the U.S. was once you get to, and that's why people say capitalism works. It's not. It does. It works in some ways, but that's how we get into a place. It's never going to be safe. It's probably going to be a lot more accidents. But they would have sent guys for 3 months. Ice road truckers would have been, moon ice drillers. So it would have been guys going there for 3 months just to drill ice and lithium and bring it back. And that's,
well, why do you think these billionaires are suddenly getting into the space race? Because they're trying to reach the asteroids. Sure. That's where all this resources are.
Well, it's all mining. It's all free mining. No one's going to complain.
So
no one's going to complain.
So when there's that motive, that's what's going to spark.
Right. That's what, and it's always pushed it. It's always not just America. I mean, it's always pushed it. So let's be honest.
Why would people change if there's profit on one level? Unless there's some incentive to do something else, you're going to keep it status quo.
Easier profit.
So that's why for the show, having that motivation where because once we got to the moon, there was really no competition, and that's why the whole people were like critical that we stopped sending people to the moon and just did the shuttle program, and but with this, there's still that incentive because you're competing against another.
Did you look up? Is there water on the moon? I did look that there is.
There is ice. I know
not as much as they're saying. To
tell the story, they had to find like this big reservoir, and there's that great scene where she's down there.
But supposedly there is ice. Somewhere on it. I did look that up. So, I mean,
you're going to need that for a colony. I like because if you don't have that, then you're going to have to ship all that up there for whatever colonies up there.
No, it's the heaviest thing. So water's freaking heavy.
So if you have that, boom.
Heavy.
The same thing with Mars. If they find water, that's.
I think they're going to Mars next season.
That's what it looked like. That last shot is you see a boot on the red planet, but you don't know if it's the U.S., if it's Russia, if it's China, if it's France.
Right.
You don't know.
Yeah.
It'd be great if they have the Albanian
French.
eagle.
They just show up. Yeah, Albanian eagle. Yeah, we got 2 Albanian guys talking about this stuff. So it's awesome. It's awesome. Just 2 Albanians.
But I don't know how long they
riffing
can
on
keep,
films.
every season jumping ahead. You know what I mean? Because then you
Well,
lose
maybe this is
characters.
it's the prequel to Star Trek, and then
It'll have to be after a certain point.
I don't know. The Discovery's coming back though, right? Isn't it coming back for
coming
another
soon?
season?
And then they also have Strange New Worlds. So the Captain Pike storyline that's going to have its own series.
I want to see that.
That was fun. That was the
'Cause I
best part of
actually-
season 2.
Yeah, I liked his character in it. I liked Pike in it because I thought he did it with the right weight. I thought I know we're gonna branch out to Discovery, but I thought like with Michael Burnham, the relationship she had with her mentor, who got killed and came back as a alternate universe universe badass, was just too weird for me.
Well, I just,
it was just not weird. It was unfounded. It wasn't grounded.
It's what I said before. Is I think her behavior led to her death, to her mentor's death. You know, and if she
exactly.
Just,
and yet she's like, I feel so bad, so I found a replacement. And everybody's like, no, she should be the captain. No, actually, no. She should not be the captain. No, fuck no. No, tell her shut the fuck up. I don't like that redheaded girl, the engineer one. I liked her the first season. I forgot her name, but then I forgot. And she's like, if Michael Burnham was here, stop saying Michael Burnham.
Trying to make you remember the name of the character.
Yeah, you're saying it because Michael's in our time it's a boy's name. So I'm like, so you just don't want me to think I'm any old Michael walking on set. But stop saying Michael Burnham. It doesn't make a difference. She's still fucked up repeatedly.
Yeah.
Repeatedly.
Although Captain Kirk broke the rules a lot too, but he never started a war.
You know what though? The difference is, and for me, is the difference is that again, Star Trek, the original series, even though they're breaking rules, it wasn't his God-given gift to break rules. He was resourceful and he listened to people and he saw things. They were educated. There was a thing like that. They didn't always say, remember the Academy, which I do find later on in Star Trek series. They always friggin' mention at the Starfleet Academy, this is what we did. It becomes like very tropey. But they had dialogue and that was the strength. That there were 3 people who could think, for each other and with each other. Whereas the later versions, as they've moved away from that, it's been more and more I break rules because I'm the smart one in the room, and it's my destiny.
And it works out in the story, so they kind of forget about it. But in real life, that would be disastrous. You'd lose your crew. You'd lose which is
no, it'd be like, what are you? I'm going to do this again? Like this is crazy, So, and I think, that's where I get. Like I stopped watching after the last season, I think, because I was like, oh my God, when they made her captain, I was like, oh my God, you gotta stop. This makes no fucking sense. No way this would happen. She would be like, shut the fuck up. Go be a brigand. Go. I don't know. The Mandalorian's looking for people. Just go. I do like Mandalorian. See, that's an interesting thing because that's also, a very ensemble sort of piece, even though, and you don't see the guy's face, and it's a different dynamic. Again, space flight, all in the universe for us, essentially, or more of exposed, different kind of stuff. And it's to me, it's much more of a world creating,
they do
world
such
building.
a good job with that. Every last
they do a really, really good job with
that. There's things they place little clues in earlier episodes.
Right.
Pay off later,
so there's depth. There's a lot of depth to it, and I think that's what I'm lacking in Discovery. The depth. It's not world building. It is conquering. It's world conquering. They're conquering their environment, which I don't really like. I think For All Mankind, they're trying to do world building, but it feels like almost they're always on the defense.
That's a good point.
Like emotion. It's always on the defense. They're reactive, not just to the environment, but just the stress level. They're always at 60. They're always at 60. It doesn't feel, and if they're not, they're drunk or they're mad about it. They got some personal shit they got to deal with. And again, I think it's like shitty things for shitty reasons. I mean, great things for shitty reasons.
I don't
even
mind seeing,
what was the female actress?
I don't mind seeing
the black girl.
The one that played Danielle. Chris Marshall is her name.
Danielle.
Danielle.
It's like Danielle. Like my husband died. Now I want to go back to space. I'm like, okay, but why? Why do you this? And also, even in the military institution, seniority takes over everything. Right. If you're in the military for a long time, doesn't matter where you are, you get respect because you got your years. And they didn't show that.
But the way they set it up by having Ed in that position of power, because he handpicks her, right?
Yeah.
She's in the bar and she's
Yeah.
like, I deserve to have my command, especially after what I
Yeah.
did.
It's weird
What
though
I
to
did.
me. And it felt that felt
And then Ed's the
that felt
guy.
like that conversation was repeated
He
repeatedly.
crashes that jet, right? He has to eject.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
There's not really that much repercussions, right? I mean, if somebody,
No. They act like little boys. And I get that's what they did. But like they got away from, we're like, oh, we got away from, we're gonna chuckle.
I
So I
mean,
was like, I don't know how long these guys are
it's
gonna be on
good
the show.
drama. I like the emotions of it. I love the speculative stuff. I think a lot of people might not get it if they don't like, that kind of alternate history.
I like the speculative stuff. I actually tune out with a lot of dialogue because I just think they're nasty sometimes.
That makes sense.
Like even that young girl, Alita.
Yeah, her character changed very drastically from.
Yeah, very drastic to where she was like
this
this girl,
timid girl,
illegal alien immigrant trying to become an engineer.
She gets that opportunity to work.
And she makes unreasonable demands of everybody.
And they keep giving her a chance. And then at the end, she kind of
right, but nobody, even people try to help her. She kicked her boyfriend out because she was floundering, and the boyfriend called the agency and said, "Hey, take this person back. She's really she's suffering." And she goes, "Well, I can't be with you because you told on me." But he's like, "But I did it to save you." She's, "Well, I can't trust you now," which I guess that's a character descriptor, to show what she is. But it's such a shitty person.
Yeah, there's a lot of unlikable stuff going on, But the one,
so it's weird to me. Again, the acting of Ed is just, I don't know. Watch Walter Carbon.
I gotta check it out. I haven't seen it.
He broods. He's broody. Yeah. He likes.
I guess you probably won't.
It actually wasn't bad. Season
you probably won't like the killing because he's a very broody detective.
I just don't like brooders. I got enough of that shit in my family. You ever been to Albanian weddings? Fucking 300 brooders. Everybody's brooding. Somebody getting married, they're fucking.
They gotta have that.
They got that face. Don't they, the video comes along. You go to an American wedding. And everybody's like, Mazel Tov. Everybody's screaming. They got quotes. You go to an Albanian wedding, that camera pans. You think you're in a fucking wake. like no one's like, look, don't smile. Do not smile. Don't smile. Do not smile. Pachiza, do not smile. Pachiza, do not smile.
Gotta have the Heineken in your hand and just.
It better be Heineken. They throw Coronas out. If it ain't Heineken, Budweiser, my friend. Heineken. Only Johnny Walker and Heineken. That's it. Yeah, bro, that's the moonshine. I went to a family's wedding, and she was they wanted no liquor at the wedding. She got married outside of being Albanian, and the bride side decided to bring their own rakai. So we had raki, which is for non-Albanians. It's a homemade brandy similar to grappa or arak from Middle East. So it's just a clear, great brandy. But they brought their own bottle. So in their water glasses, the guy had put raki. In all the water glasses.
That
so we could
reminded me, like in that scene when Tracy is up there and she's having her little breakdown. She's on the moon base and she's making the alcohol from I'm like, I don't think you'd have alcohol up there in space. Maybe they sneak it in.
Yeah, some of the rules are weird. I thought the base should have been bigger by then.
She's smoking.
Yeah, I know.
I'm like, that alone.
Yeah, literally bad people.
The whole thing.
Yeah, literally bad people. Like literally,
you can see the human side of it, and I think that's what makes the drama. But yeah, I would think a real astronaut, no matter how messed up they'd be, they wouldn't be doing that.
It's not the Wild West. I think they treat it a little bit like the. Well, actually, now thinking about it, it's a little bit of a mashup of Mad Men and the Wild West in space. So if you had homesteaders, they do bring up that line. We're homesteaders.
Yeah.
Actually, they do bring up that comment. I forgot. I think Ed says it that we're homesteaders up there. We're the ones who homestead. So that is that. Now, actually, again, that's why I like talking to people about it, because something comes to my mind, and it sort of makes sense.
They call it Jamestown.
When the dynamic. Right? Yeah, well, Jamestown was a failed city, and to name it after a city that died is kind of funny. And what was the crater name? What's the crater name?
I forget that.
Is that with an S? Oh man, I gotta find that out. The camp. You gotta find that out, because that's also an unsuccessful trip through the Arctic.
It's like
North.
Second chances. It's about second chances.
Yeah, I don't know, man, but to name it Jamestown, went Jamestown. I was like, what the? Maybe they should have named one of the ships Chappaquiddick. I was like, what's his name? Chappaquiddick. It's got a ring to it. Maybe in that world, Jamestown survived.
That's
Shackleton.
Okay, that's another disaster.
It's a disaster. But maybe they're saying in that alternate universe, Jamestown survived.
It could be. I'd have to check that out.
And Shackleton made it. They found the Northern Passage.
So funny.
Because you would only name something after a success.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
I mean, only because it's a peeve of mine. But now that I'm
Yeah.
thinking about it,
I mean,
wait a second.
everything has to have a choice. I mean, it's a reason that they pick
Right? No,
it.
it's always a
So
choice.
they must, it
Yeah.
must have a reason. So I'd have to double check that.
Right. So in my mind, you would name it because both of those things were successes.
Right. Good point.
Look, taking time. See, and that's what I wish they would explore too. Alternate thread doesn't mean that we diverge only at that point, but maybe it's an totally alternate world. And what are the points of divergence in the back? Like where it is. Can we look and reverse engineer where things changed, of why we messed up? Because it's not just that day that it messed up. There's many things that bring up, you tripping. Until you could be tired, you could had a rough day Monday, you could have a horrible day Tuesday, and by Wednesday you tripped. Doesn't mean Wednesday was a bad day. Well, yeah, but you had 3 days before that were bad. So maybe this is showing that change in dynamic of
that's a good point
of how.
But that's
because I was like, only because that was a peeve of mine. Of like, why would they name it after these two failed? Like one, like this.
I caught the Jamestown one. I didn't catch the other one. I gotta check that again. I gotta rewatch it.
Yeah, that's there was a web series I think there was a series on Netflix last. It was way too long. They've done movies on it too, but I think Shackleton was the expedition that went to the north and got stuck in ice, and then they went crazy because their tins, they went budget on the food tins, and there was lead in them, and they all went crazy and they started eating each other. Yeah, I mean, freaking Northern Europeans, they'll eat anything. They'll eat week-old meat. If it ain't cooked through, I don't
people do to survive. That's
yeah. It's kind of interesting. So maybe that is an interesting way to look at it. I mean, again, just sort of like that's why I like these conversations. And if you like these conversations, hit subscribe at some point. So any new things going on with you, Nick?
Just,
so we can go off on other stuff.
I did a web series. I was in one episode of it, and it hasn't been. They're putting it through the festivals, looking forward to that. I was telling you before we got on the air for this. I just miss being on stage and doing things like that. So I've done a bunch of these kind of podcasts for others. I love talking about pop culture and movies and.
I'm the really same way a little bit. Yeah. It is. It's a good place to get out there. I know the last year, this is 2021, but the last year has been rough for a lot of people. I know me too. It just feels like the creativity is sort of been sapped from a lot of people. But I will say that when you hit your rock bottom, the arts and creativity and being able to speak is what gets you out of it. So if anyone's listening, talk about your shit. Don't get angry. That's the point. I know Nick loves Discovery.
I love it. And when we see these shows on our own or even with, our family members, it's something about talking with other people, that brings up those ideas that you didn't notice before and, see things from a different perspective or just see things that you both liked in common, That's what entertainment's all about. It's entertaining us.
Definitely makes you think and talk about it. And I think I'd give it a chance. I mean, anybody's listening to this or watching, I would give it a chance. I think you'll like. Just because I don't like Ed doesn't mean. I mean, the guy's working, so obviously a lot of people.
I do like him. I like him better than you did. And the rest of the cast.
You like him.
I think it's really good.
Yeah, I think it's a very good ensemble piece, much more so. And they do spread it every now and then. Even though some of the guys on the bass I can't stand. The new guy he must be the comedy relief or somebody's nephew. The guy who introduces the bass to all
the guy that has. I forget.
So it's.
I don't even know his name.
You know what? You don't have to remember his name. It's really okay because he's really okay. But he's like the comedy relief. Like, hey, I'm the witty guy. Yeah. It's like I just don't need that. Just don't fucking need that. Just get where you got to get going. I really want to see what the Russians are doing. I want to see some other shit. Like one of the things actually I did. Another thing that's already irritated me was when the Russians attack. Just again, people are watching this. But if you're watching something not to get spoilers, just don't watch anything. Just watch one movie. Never watch a series. Spoilers are everywhere.
Exactly.
Watch the execution, not the end. Everybody knows Romeo and Juliet, but everybody watches the production because they watch the execution, and that's real art.
And what choices you'll make. That's an actor.
Right. It's the choices that how they're making, how they're telling that story. That's actually what makes it interesting. But there is a point where the Russians invade, and it's all weird the way that I thought that was a little forced through the invasion process. I liked the tension they were trying to build. I liked that they were all lying to each other, governments, to get what they want, because America essentially took over a base that was commandeered by the Russians. and then they captured one of the astronauts.
And then that scene
who
when that
wanted to defect.
cosmonaut burns from the inside. I mean, that's
Yeah, that was a great scene. See, that was a good
man.
scene.
That was a great scene.
And I'll tell you, that was one of the few scenes that I really did appreciate some of the effects they did, because it's very they don't show the gravity
subtle,
thing too great,
but powerful.
Yeah,
and I was like,
yeah, very powerful,
oh,
nice and subtle. The panic in that slow motion
Yep.
run, that little hop they have, the panic was there. So I thought
That
that
was
was there are great moments in it. I really think they have great moments in it. I think they hit their stride in season 1. I'm hoping they can regain
and then
that
some
pace
missed
in
opportunities
season 2.
too, like when the Russians steal the plans for the shuttle, right?
Yeah.
And then we realize in this reality, we already know that there's a flaw with the O-ring, right? What caused the Challenger disaster. So the suspense. I was like, okay, is this are they gonna launch something and it's gonna explode? But no, like they kind of resolve it really quickly, you know. And I was a little disappointed.
Well, they made a love
that's
triangle.
what they were. You know,
they made
a connection there, but I was hoping it would lead to
Space
something
and guy
really
and the girl.
like a big payoff, you know, and it was kind of just like a little.
Yeah. Well, I think they're trying to show, and that's the thing too. I feel, again, it goes back to like the God thing of like why these people are so special and handpicked, is they seem to be above what's the American interaction or concept that's out there. And they seem to be, no, we're astronauts, we're special. So it is very much the prime directive in a way of them being above all the rules.
Bring it back to the prime directive. It's like
I do a little bit. I do. At least I didn't say that's what we trained in the academy.
I like that.
You know, as I'm talking to you, it's sort of, it is connected in a weird way. You know, it is very much connected. If you make this the primary institution of all your wealth, like you're saying, so you know, going up there mining, getting things, you can strip mine on an asteroid. No one's going to give a shit. You know, it's literally free. It's junk.
Not owned by anybody.
So it's free. No one's going to care. And if you can sell that to the public, well, listen, it's dangerous, but that means you're going to have forests and rivers, and we're not going to do shit with you.
No.
Right. We'll have gold all you want. We'll have platinum. We'll have minerals we never discovered before. Created in the purity of space. So it's a different dynamic. I think that's something that could definitely be explored. You know, and I think people don't do that enough in science films. Like I said, futuristic stuff is always weird to me. I watched Dune recently too, and that also I was like, it's futuristic, but it should be more. It felt very Conquistador if you watch it. It felt very much Conquistador, which I'm not a big fan of. That sort of imagery, the way it's set up, it doesn't make sense to me. But like I said, I think they are very related. These two series, both people that have that probably shouldn't be in charge of something. So I'm rewarded for being an asshole at times. But again, I think that's where I need it to be. I don't see why you can't have somebody who's talented who's not in that circle. I can't understand. Or at least they should be moving up. It shouldn't just be, well, I've been here long enough.
That's a good point.
And if you're a danger to somebody, I don't care if you're a hot shot. You're a danger to people. You're not the person who can go up there, and we can't say you're going to be okay.
Yeah, that's the one
because that's not the way it works.
They make a lot of these decisions from the gut, which human wise it makes sense because like I always say in theater and film and fiction, you either relate to the characters or you recognize the characters, right? So sometimes you'll say like, I could see myself doing that. Or if you don't see yourself doing that, you're like, I know people that would do that, So once you lose that sense of believability, that's when it becomes, So for me, I could see human beings doing that, but I don't see it in that institution. If you're NASA and you're competing, you know, you're not going to let some of these folks be the decision makers. You know what I mean?
Right.
And that's where that guy Thomas comes in from the government because they got an ulterior motive.
Yeah.
And I love that tension, And then they killed him off in the Korean airplane that gets shot down.
I know that, which in our world, I was like, oh my God. That was, but I'll tell you, that was one of the most dramatic moments. It really worked.
When you find out
that was a great moment. I thought they have the potential to make better moments. I really think so. I mean, like you're saying too, I think we're on the agreement. The resource material, the resource of their world, the world they're creating, is solid. One of my peeves with worlds, when people create worlds, is that they have to stick to the rules.
Yeah,
you have to stick to the rules. So if you're going to create this world, you got to really stick to that rule. You can't apply the way we interact here in our world as you would there. I do like the heightened anti-communism there. It's a little bit more aggressive than we were. during the 80s. I remember being in the 80s, and I mean, I guess, well, I don't remember. I was a kid, really, but people were very
You had the
anti-Russian and
Cold
all this and
War,
that.
and
Yeah, but it was a different kind of anger, where this one's very heightened, very paranoid, because of what's at
exactly.
stake. We've had 20 years of
Yep.
space race. So it's not like just nuclear. It's holy shit. They just bomb us from
Yep.
space and we'll never know. Which I found that dynamic was
Right.
really good,
Mm-hmm.
plausible, paranoia. I didn't like the resolution with Reagan.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it just made him seem like he's just crazy
Mm-hmm.
grandpa at that point. Like, oh, look, you made a nice gesture. I've seen my
Yeah.
ways. Nancy said I should do something.
Yeah.
That was like a little weird, unless he's already with his
Right.
Alzheimer's. but that was, I think could have been played a little
Mm-hmm.
more. So I
But I
think they
did like the
wrapped it up a little bit
parallel
too.
between those two scenes with what was happening on the moon base and what was him and
Yeah.
I don't think he should have been in the
Oh,
ship.
I think there's some good stuff there. I do recommend people to watch it. I have told people, hey, just give it a shot. You
And when
might
I
not
tell people
love
the
it,
name, they think of that
but
documentary that I think Ron Howard and Tom Hanks did. It was called For All Mankind, but it was a documentary.
oh yeah,
This is that
oh, okay.
alternate history story, and I think people really should give it a shot because I don't think people know about it.
No, we give it a
Um,
shot. I think it's
and
worth it. And it is to me a real
yeah,
ensemble. So you enjoy the characters. I love the guy who
oh,
played
he
Deke.
was
He was
great.
in
Yeah,
True
yeah, he
Blood
was
as
really
a
good.
sheriff. I do miss him
Yeah,
from
and
season
he's
one
another one who goes off
because
into
I
space. I
really
don't think
enjoy
that would
him.
be realistic either, but
Yeah, no, it wouldn't be realistic. No, the guy was like in
yeah.
his 50s. Like, I can do this. I picked. It's not how it
Yeah, I
works,
mean, you could
actually.
be like
I used to
you
be a
could be a
boss. I
William
couldn't pick after
Shatner
a
and
while.
just go for like a quick trip back and forth, but that's a lot of work,
Yeah,
to
yeah.
be up
No,
there and
it's weird. Yeah, I mean, there's some things. There is a sense that they never
mhm,
mature. Those people, there's a sense that they
right.
never really mature, and I think that. But again, it's got to move forward a
Hmm.
little bit because you're stagnate. I mean, what's when you're staying still, you're
Hmm.
moving backwards because the world's
Yeah,
moving forward. So I feel like when those people don't
right.
mature, the world's moving forward, and I guess that's a thing. But like they can't all not mature. Like I don't know about you growing up. I don't really talk to anybody I grew up with. We started maturing at
People
different
go
in
different
different
paths in
paces.
life.
Right. To me, it's not in the path. It's
Hmm.
just the maturity level. Like what they think is
Yeah.
funny, I don't.
That makes sense.
I don't laugh at their jokes anymore. I stopped laughing at their
I
jokes.
have friends.
That's really what it came down to. I just stopped laughing at their jokes. I just think it was funny. It's kind of
Yeah.
embarrassing. And that's it. It's not a
Hmm.
path. It's we were never going to work in the
Got it.
same place. But they laugh, and what they find entertaining and worth talking about is not
Yeah.
what I find entertaining and worth talking, and vice versa. They don't. Maybe I'm a bore
Hmm.
to them, and like, yeah, this guy's
Yeah.
boring. He talks about the same shit all the time. Him and his fucking Albanian things. Yeah,
And
so I
I
bring it
also
up as
know
often as
some
I
people
can.
won't dig this show because like they won't get the history. They
Yeah.
don't like the space. Like me, I'm a geek. I love space, and all that
No, I
stuff.
love this
So
stuff too.
you know,
I love this stuff too.
the
I always have. Always
so
have.
to
I've
me, I
always found
connected
it.
with it.
Fan.
But I think there's stuff
Yeah.
here too for people who just like the drama. And I think some of it is forced. Like they force all these side stories a little
Yeah.
bit for that drama, and
Yeah.
it doesn't have the payoff a
Yeah.
lot of it. But the good thing is it's going to jump 10
Yeah.
years, so they're going to bring in new
Yeah,
characters. They're going to do
exactly.
new
Then
things.
I do enjoy that. They wrap it up. They go, "This would happen," and that's it. And you move on. Yeah. I mean, what is it? Ed and his wife adopted a
There
girl
you go.
from
Yeah,
Vietnam.
yeah,
Like, oh, okay.
yeah. That whole side story,
and that became a
that
weird
whole
trauma thing. I was like, "This is a
she's
fight for no
looking for her
reason."
dad. I was like, I mean, it's interesting, but I was like, it doesn't really move the plot
Well,
along.
the funny thing is that
She
they
was
adopted.
important.
She was like
Yeah, she was
17.
important for that because he lost his kid in the first season. So it caused
Yeah,
that scene with where they had to really address their
that one scene,
emotions,
the
right?
blow up scene.
So I
Yeah,
thought that was really powerful. And if you didn't have that daughter, you never would have. But it was forced. It was a little forced.
but yeah, but think about that. So their son died, and they jumped
Hmm.
9 years, right? 9 years. That girl was
Hmm.
17. Now she's saying she didn't know who her family was because she was put up for adoption immediately at the birth, according
Yeah,
to her paperwork. So where was she?
yeah.
And she goes, "Well, I got this information from the
Maybe she was
adoption
like in a
agency. So you were like
foster
11,
care or something. I don't
yeah,
know.
and you don't speak Vietnamese, yet you
Uh-huh.
were in
Uh-huh.
Vietnam till you were like 9
Yeah.
years old. Now you're an immigrant, right?
I was
I'm an
born here,
immigrant.
but my parents, I was right off the boat. Like I was, in my mom's belly
Yeah,
when they were in the camp in Italy. So,
yeah. I came here, but you speak Albanian. I
uh-huh.
speak Albanian. I mean, 9 years you would probably still speak Vietnamese. I mean, if I lived in Albania until I
You
was
know a
9 years
little bit.
old,
I would think.
I know a
Yeah.
little bit. I know a little bit. I'd probably have an
Yeah.
accent,
Yeah.
regardless. So that I found that
Yeah.
a little, that felt a little forced the way they
There's a lot
pushed
of
that
forced
in,
stuff. And,
because they wanted an older
yep.
girl.
Yeah,
That was
they
really
needed
it. To get an
somebody
older
to have
girl,
that
trying to
drama
move
about her
out.
going to the academy. The dad doesn't want her to go to the academy.
Right. Which
Doesn't
again,
want
that
to
was actually
lose
very
another
forced too. Like,
kid.
I
You
want to
know.
be in the Navy
Yeah.
too. I'm like, yeah. I was like, oh, that's weird. You see, your father's like a mess. Well, Gordo's son, I want to go in the military. I'm like, why? Your father's an alcoholic. Your mom doesn't talk to him. Actually, you would be the kid who doesn't go in the military because there's no win for you.
And now that whole
there's no win for
subplot,
you.
though, with the affair with him, and
Yep.
that's gone because we're going to jump 10 years. So I'm curious how
Yeah,
that's
10
going to.
years.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you kind
10
of have
years.
that.
I knew they were going to do something with
They
her,
set it
because
up.
you
They
can
set
always
it up.
tell. You can always tell when they over sexualize a woman in these shows, because the shots go wider.
It's a good. I'm going to keep an eye out.
They always do. You can tell. It's like when Ed walked into a room, he's like, it's overshadow. He's hulking through it, and his wife walks in the room, and it's like, if she's wearing a skirt, they're making sure that the hips show, and it's always like a shot like that. The other girl, Tracy, she always wore thermal tops really tight.
Yeah.
By the end, I was like, wow, they are really loving this girl, because all they're showing her is like the tightest tops in the world.
But for her,
that
in
you
her
wouldn't
case,
wear
that they played that up because she became the face. Like, she was so pretty.
Oh yeah,
she was the
she
traditional.
did, she became. She did definitely.
What
But I feel like they almost like tramped
be
her up.
attracted to back in the 80s, and that's where.
But I feel like they tramped her up a little bit too much. I thought it was a little condescending,
especially in a show that really
okay.
has very feminist overtones in terms of like the women being empowered, because I think ERA, the Equal Rights Amendment, passes in this universe.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
And there's that one mission that's all women. The commander's a woman.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
And yet you still have those Mad Men type sexualization stereotypes.
Yeah, I found that a little off-putting too. I agree with you on that. I noticed that a little bit, where I was like, wow, the women are in charge, yet they're still dumb girls who've never had love. A little bit with some of the characters. They're not showed as vibrant people. I wish there was more depth. You don't find that about a lot of people's relationships there, and I think that's okay too, because it's a very insulated world. But if it's a major character, I mean, they gotta have. I mean, one girl's a lesbian, and the husband's a beard. So
I like that.
okay,
and I like that
storyline
storyline, because it was like she was trying to, she was going to leave her NASA career and just go, and so there's like human drama there, some good stuff there. But at the same time,
there is. But again, that girlfriend, really shitty person. Really shitty person.
Like, there's a lot of like, they're flawed.
And she steals her ex-girlfriend from her new girlfriend. And I'm like, why would you do that if you really cared about somebody? She's been with that person for 9 years. Like, why would you do that? Why would you expect her to wait for you when you've got your own thing going? And then the other one's like, and then the girl was like, well, you got to tell NASA or I'm going to leave you. Well, that's a weird ultimatum. I mean, there's tons of lesbians and gay couples who've never told their partners, never told anybody, because their partner needed to be successful, and they just kept it quiet. And everyone knew. You just shut the fuck up. Rock Hudson had a fucking relationship for years. Everyone knew he was gay.
I thought they were going to go somewhere with that too. That whole because
I
thought,
too.
okay, here's the alternate reality. It's not maybe they're going to be something that happens.
You think Stonewall didn't happen in that reality?
I don't know. It seemed much more. We got to keep this on the down low, really serious. Even though
that's actually, now that I'm talking to you about it, I'm finding it very interesting, because to me it's interesting, because maybe these things didn't happen. So I know I'm discovering more. That's all it is, Nick. I feel like I'm discovering more.
But there's
it's maybe it's more layered than I think.
Were great, and there's a lot of there to dig into if somebody really wants to sit there and watch it. And I think it.
Yeah.
Like, are you going to tune into season 3 when that comes out? So even you weren't 100% on my level in terms of loving it, but I think people, if they give it a chance and just kind of go into this, they might catch a lot,
No, I agree with you. No, it's worth a watch. I think it's we've been speaking about it for almost an hour, so I mean it's worth a talk. So it's definitely worth a watch, because like you said, the more I'm looking at it, maybe it's more complex than I'm giving it credit for. In all honesty. So I'm not trying to be harsh on it. I can dislike things, but I think maybe it is more thought out. And it's making me wonder, maybe Stonewall didn't happen. Like we were saying, the fear of being outed as gay is much more prevalent. By the 80s, that shouldn't be a problem. Now, they didn't mention AIDS.
That's a good, especially with
And this was 83 at
right,
the
right.
peak of AIDS. That's
Yeah.
huge. Just
Hmm.
thinking about it now. So that means people didn't come out. So maybe AIDS didn't happen the way we
Hmm.
remember it happening, or to a smaller scale, because it's a much more subdued, much more restricted
That's the thing
society.
with this kind of alternate history genre.
Yeah,
Science fiction looks at the possibilities of what could be and where we're going. Alternate history looks
yeah,
at where we are now, but what if things went a little different?
yeah,
And that makes us look at where
yeah.
we
No,
are.
I
So
love this kind
I
of
think
stuff
it's
too.
really interesting.
Yeah, I do like
Yeah.
talking like that. What ifs, even though the what if series didn't work out too well in the
There were a
Marvel
couple
thing, I
of
watched
episodes
that.
I
It
liked,
was
but
okay. There were a couple I liked. I love the artwork. I actually
really
watched it
great.
more for
And it
for
was
the
nice. It
artwork.
was nice
I
to
thought it
hear
was
the
amazing.
voices of some of these actors again.
Yeah, yeah, I like some of the art. That I was okay with that, and some of the action shots I thought were beautiful. I didn't think the stories need
Uh-huh.
to converge the way they did,
Uh-huh.
but that's just me. But that definitely this is probably for everybody listening. This is probably more in depth than I gave it credit for. So Nick is he told me to watch it, and I did. I watched it over like
When I
4 or 5
asked
nights.
you
So
when we were preparing for this, I asked you, so what'd you
yeah.
think of it? And you're like, I have opinions. So I was like, uh-oh. I said, uh-oh. He didn't like it.
No, it's really just the Ed guy. For some reason, he's irritated me. But he irritates me. Like I watched him in Suicide
I
Squad.
still
I thought
haven't
he was
seen
the weakest
Suicide
link in
Squad,
that.
but I liked him in The Killing.
I watched the first one,
But
the
I
second
see your
one.
point.
He just makes no sense
Yeah.
to me in it. He just makes no sense to me in it. It's
Hmm.
not that bad. But I also didn't mind Justice League. A lot of people hate it. I'm
Hmm.
like, I didn't mind it. Even though my idea for Justice League is that the whole reason Batman wants alternate universe is that the whole reason Batman wants to bring Supes back to life is because he's secretly in love with him, and it's a gay romance. He has no physical attraction to Wonder Woman. That makes no friggin' sense. None. There is no attraction to Wonder Woman.
Yeah, there's a lot of problems with that movie.
I'm just saying, none.
There's a lot of problems. But
I think in that world, Supes and Bats, they got the little freak on a little bit. Some cuffs, a little cape, ready to go.
that's awesome.
So that's a bad thing. Just exploring. Just exploring things. Just exploring different cultures and societies and moments.
That's it.
That's all I'm saying.
That's a whole topic for another podcast, right?
It could be. I think that I try to understand the backstory. I think the backstory is that Supes is gay, and the Batman and Supes are having an affair, and that's why he's so adamant in bringing it
That's
back.
an interesting point.
That they had a
That could be
torrid
a
affair.
choice. Who
It
knows?
was a breakup. Yeah. Forget Superboy. Was Superboy's gay now? Is Superboy gay?
I heard,
Yeah.
he's bi or something. That the storyline. So
He's
I don't know.
bi. He's bi. Yeah. I'll
Yeah.
buy it too. I
But
guess.
the
I don't
TV
know.
show Superman and Lois, that's an actually pretty good show if you want to watch that. And that's where he has the son. No,
The
the new
old
one.
one?
There's a new one on CW.
No,
Yeah,
I haven't
that's
seen
actually
that.
pretty good.
I haven't seen that one.
So you should definitely check that one
Yeah.
out.
I'll
For a
check it out.
TV show,
Did you watch Schmigadoon? Did you watch Schmigadoon?
I did not. Is that supposed to be really? That's the musical.
I will send
That's
you
the
a link to
musical,
that.
right? Yeah.
Yes. Cecily
Okay,
Strong.
she's funny. She's really good. She's really
I
great.
love her. I think she
Yeah.
has great timing. I think she has really, really good timing. Some of the best timing out there. My favorite part, honestly, is watching the
Okay.
ensemble players, the cast, the
Okay.
singers and dancers. They are so happy to be
I'll
singing and
have to watch
dancing, and they give it their all. It is, as a person who likes theater, I got my son. My sons were in, they did
Mhm.
plays.
Yeah.
You remember back in the day, they were doing plays too, and we couldn't
Okay.
stop watching it. And it is. We should talk about, if you want, we'll chat about
I'll
it later. But
add it to my list.
I really appreciated it. I really did. Yeah, I thought it was for a theater person, it's one of the best
All right.
theater productions you
I'll
can
have
see
to
on
check
TV.
it out.
For me, might not be you are, but I
always
like
like getting
nuances of it.
recommendations because you never know.
Yeah, it's real. We
Yeah.
loved it. We loved it. We actually were like,
That's
what
the-
the
that's
hell
the
is
great-
this? Amazing. But in Albania,
Oh, really?
I watched it.
Was
I
it
found a copy
dubbed
somewhere
in
online.
Albanian or was it?
I don't know where it was. No, I found a copy online. Like, I gotta watch it over here. I was like, what the hell is this? Where is it? Like, where is it? I was like, some cafe. I was like, oh my god. My son's like, what are you doing? I'm watching Shoot with you. And he's like, what do you mean you're watching it without me? What do you mean you're watching it without me? But yeah, we had a lot of fun. That trip was a lot of fun. Just so everybody knows, I took my son to Albania, to the homeland this summer, and we had a ball. And I highly recommend Albania, whoever wants to travel out there. It's actually pretty awesome. Rent a car, go get some nice food, have some really good beer, nice people. You definitely got to
It's on
go,
my
Nick. I'm
bucket
telling you.
list, and I want to do it.
Take
With
your
my
kids,
dad.
bro. But
while I
it's
still
so
have.
cheap when it's over there. It's so cheap.
That's what I hear,
It's
and
you will spend less than
it's
going to the Caribbean.
beautiful, right? It's really
The I mean, I say cheap because it's hard to get there. I say that because the sticker shock of the flights from New York will turn you off to it. But it balances out in the end because when you go there, it's less expensive than someplace like the Caribbean or something like that. But the people are so nice. We didn't go really to the coast area, the touristy area, because of
that's what I
August and
heard.
it gets a
That's
little
the best.
crowded. Yeah, it's very crowded. So we went inland. We went to the city Berat,
Nice.
Gjirokastër. We were in Fier and around there. We went to Kosovo. We drove all the highways. It was a
And I
beautiful
saw the
country.
pictures you
Just
shared, like
really
some of
nice.
the historic sites, like the theater. That's like I wanted to go
Yeah,
see that and see because that's like
yeah, Gjirokastër is one of the
Mhm.
prettiest cities you'll ever see. And we were up by the castle.
I'm
It's a
surprised they
centuries old
don't do
city.
more
And there's
productions there. I'm surprised they don't open it up to like they're
it's a very
shooting.
small area, which a lot of people don't
They're
get.
shooting in like Bulgaria and all these other places. I was like, there should be a
Yeah, I
big
know. But I think they have
industry.
bigger cities. They have their cities are a
Okay.
little bigger. And even though Albania has a lot of castles, you
Hmm.
wouldn't know that. But essentially, the way the castle infrastructure there was that every castle had to be inside
Okay.
of another castle. That's how they
Okay.
warned each other. So you had castles from mountain area to mountain area. So one village had a castle. You could see when you're in that village, you see another castle north, you see
Okay.
another castle south. So like that's how close they were. This just during communism, it just
Hmm.
wasn't really you know held up. It just wasn't perceived as something
Hmm.
worth saving. Like Bulgaria, I think because of the religious
Okay.
diversity there, and also the aspirational goals of our neighbors. Who, if you found like a lot of people say, oh, why don't they do more? Like we've talked about it, like not
Hmm.
with you, but other people, like, hey, why don't they do more digging in in Albania for
Hmm.
archaeological digs and everything? I go, well, they can't. I go because the second it comes out the Greek letter, Greece is going to
Yeah.
say it's Greek. So like you're better off not because now you're
Hmm.
avoiding the conflict
Right.
because it's just a letter. It could
Hmm.
be a tablet, but it's just they say, well, now we prove it, and the same thing with
Hmm.
Serbians and but they don't realize that the people are we were much more intermingled and we're closer culturally than
Yeah.
anybody wants to admit.
Very true.
Visually, everything. And especially in the some of these inland cities that have been more not isolated, but more allowed to mature
Hmm.
in their culture. And I think we've all matured in that
Yeah.
same direction a little bit, especially in
Yeah.
less touristy areas, less
Yeah.
nationalistic areas. So it's kind of interesting. I thoroughly
Hmm.
enjoy it. We had such a
Good.
good time and really nice people, and everybody speaks English. So even if you bring your kids, my boy doesn't speak English, and he had a
Uh-huh.
ball.
That's
He had
good.
a ball. We walked around. We great
Wow.
views every morning was fresh food. You like the people are just
Uh-huh.
super civil. You cross the
That's good.
border, you're in. That's it.
Yeah,
Have a great
we have
day.
to write we have to write a
Uh,
story to get people to know about it because I
I
tune in
want to. I
CSI.
have an
We
idea for a
watch the Taken
comedy.
movies. We're all just the gangsters, We're just
Yeah,
not.
I know. I have a
We
couple of
gotta
stories.
be more
I
than
have a
just
comedy I want to write.
mobsters.
Actually, how's your improv skills? I know we're talking like other stuff. How's your
I
improv
mean, I've never
skills?
taken real improv lessons or stuff, but I have a theater
Yeah,
background, so I've done some improv, but yeah, but
yeah. I got an idea for an improv.
I like
We'll talk
scripts,
about it.
but we can do.
I like it.
The
I
last
do
I
everything.
was
I don't care. I've
the
always been
last
good at the.
web series that I did was improv. So
Yeah,
that was
yeah.
all. We just had a premise, created a character, and we just ran
Yeah.
with it.
Oh no, it's actually like a real. It's a little note for everybody watching, but a real like
Hmm.
mockumentary or
Yeah.
improv film. You have a
Hmm.
full script.
But then
You never
yeah,
walk
you
in
go
with a
off and
premise.
yeah,
You're just allowed to read it
yeah,
five
yeah.
times and you're done. And then you say
Now play.
now it
Yeah,
doesn't matter. Just make it happen.
yeah,
Just
yeah,
hit your marks, and
yeah.
you discover stuff. That's all.
Right.
That's all it is. So I mean, the first film that I became SAG for was Mail Order
Okay.
Wife. Yeah, actually, you'll there's a guy Adrian Martinez. He's in the. I didn't act with him, but I met him, and he's like really busy actor right now. He's in a lot of stuff. Uh, and I met him in that. That was the first film that I got SAG with, and I had to read 120 pages, and they had to improv my bits. They said, "Okay, throw the script away." I'm like, "What do you mean?"
I just
The audition, I didn't even think I was going to get it. I don't know if I
uh-huh.
told you this story. Short story, and then we'll wrap up. You probably got to go to sleep, and I got to clock out too. But the audition was, I saw these headshots that didn't look at all like me. I'm like, oh my God, no one's. A friend of
Hmm.
mine knew the producer, And he goes, yeah, they're looking for somebody. Go audition. I was like, okay, you know, I just did it. And I go in there, I see these headshots of people who just don't look anything like me, nothing like me. And I'm hearing them riffing. And I'm like, I asked the kid, the PA, I said, are they going by script or they're improv? They go, they're going to ask you improv. I said, okay, take the script back. he's like, what? I go, bro, I go, look at the pictures. No one looks like me. I go, so they're going to cast me. I go, so who cares? I go, I'm going to have fun. Take the first script back. I got the idea. Let me get out of here. And I go and do my bit, and they cast me.
That's awesome.
I was like, really? You want me? Okay. So that was my first experience. So, hey Nick, thanks so much for this.
I love talking about this stuff, and you're a great person to have a conversation with. So, always happy to come back. We'll talk about
I'd love to have you back. Let's pick some movies. Watch Schmigadoon.
I'll watch that. I'll watch that for sure.
It's really short. It's like 8 episodes. It's or like 6, something like that. It's super short. It's like a movie. It's 22-minute episodes, 30-minute episodes. Yeah, it's really well done. It's really well done.
Well, thank you for having me.
Okay, buddy. Talk to you soon. All right. Thanks. And everybody, come back. We'll have more people like Nick. I'm telling you. That's it. Subscribe. See, now you're saying it. Okay.
Have a good one. Thank you so much.
Bye.